Over the past 20 years, I grew from being a Greek immigrant in Silicon Valley to running one of the most successful CRM companies for small businesses with over 50 million in revenue, and additionally helping thousands and tens of thousands of entrepreneurs start their company and acquire customers successfully. And if there's one thing that's become crystal clear for me is what the difference is between the entrepreneurs that succeed and those that ultimately end up failing. And it's mainly about the mistakes you make or you avoid. So what I want to do in this video is show you exactly what these mistakes are and how to avoid them so you grow in a straighter line from where you are to where you want to be. Mistake number one, building something before talking to customers. I'll go way back. The first couple of products and companies that I tried to build, I was comfortable living in sort of dream world, right? Where you just pretend being an entrepreneur. You go online, you research things, you put together a PowerPoint presentation, you select a logo on 99 Designs or something, you give a freelancer a logo to design, you create a t-shirt that you wear with your logo on it, you put together a business plan, you research all kinds of social media accounts to follow, you watch endless YouTube videos about how to build a successful company and how to get traction, and ultimately maybe you stumble over some online course that you buy on how to grow your company 10x or how to start a startup. You buy a bunch of books, you go to a talk or a networking event, you do all the things that are fun but have nothing to do with really building anything. Get a little closer to building, maybe putting together a prototype, bringing in some developers, thinking about what should that feature look like, what should the website look like, let's plan out when we're gonna be ready, and developing and creating all these things, again in a bubble, inside an office, inside an apartment. And only with clothes did I really started to understand and really internalize the power of going outside your bubble, outside your apartment, outside your office, into the real world and talking to customers and users as soon as possible, way ahead of building anything, way ahead of creating anything, way ahead of designing anything, getting in touch with reality and with the people that ultimately are supposed to be buying your product or using your software at the end of the day. So I had to go through many iterations. I was lucky that I started very young, so I was able to do a lot of these mistakes when it still was low stakes. But ultimately, the need to talk to people, to really hear from people's mouths, to see their behavior, the facial expressions, as you talk to them about your idea. Are they leaning in? Are they leaning out? Are they confused? Are they super focused and tapped into what you're saying? Do they tell you they need this? Do they tell you about some other product or service that they're using right now that sounds similar to the thing that you want to build? There's nothing more enlightening than talking to customers, talking to potential customers as early as possible. And I'll tell you, even after 2 decades now of doing this and doing that pretty well, it still needs discipline. You're gonna come up with 1,000 reasons for why you could do this other thing first before going outside and talking to people. You have to constantly fight that urge, that comfort zone of safety of, maybe send an email first, maybe do a little research, maybe watch a YouTube video first, maybe work on the spreadsheet instead of pick up the phone and call somebody, text somebody, send an email to somebody, go outside and meet someone. These things will always have some initial internal resistance. You have to learn to push through that fear and through that comfort zone and go and talk to your customers as soon as possible. And then once you start talking to them, you can never stop talking to your customers. No matter how good things are going, no matter how big the company is, no matter how long you've been around, no matter how successful you are, you always have to eat your broccoli, you always have to go to the gym, you always have to talk to your customers. If you haven't had at least 100 conversations with your target customers, you have no clue what to build. So the second biggest mistake that I see entrepreneurs make is not hiring the right people. So if you hire the wrong people, it will kill your business. Picking the right people to put together a winning team is the A to Z, the 0 and 1. It's everything. The end of the day, it's not the plans you make, but the people you hire that will determine the destiny of your startup and your company. And you have to pick the right people to be able to succeed through, ups and downs, highs and lows, and good and bad times. So don't make the mistake of compromising in the wrong ways in order to hire faster. That's one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make. They make compromises in one area that you should really not make any compromises in, which is hiring. The way to hire the right people is pretty simple and very, very tough, right? Like simple but difficult is usually the formula you're looking for in life. So what do you need to do? Number one is you need to look for people that you can trust and that will be honest and direct and hardworking. And sort of like you look for people that are, in terms of their values and their character, aligned with you. If you work with people that don't communicate like you, that don't value the same things like you, that are not trustworthy, that are not hardworking, it's going to lead to tremendous problems and ultimately so much pain and failure for you. So first, you always have to check on a personal level and an instinct level, on a gut level. Do I like this person? Do I trust this person? Do I want to be around this person when things will get tough, right? That's a better question to ask than, do I think this person might be able to provide some value? And a lot of times we sell ourselves on this, well, this person worked at a really cool startup before. Now, I don't like him. I don't think he's honest, but he worked at this really incredible startup and he pretends to have all this knowledge and all these connections. And maybe if I work with this person, he or she's gonna make me successful. It's not the way to go, right? And that's the similar way that you should think about people to hire. But ultimately, one of my favorite quotes of all time when it comes to hiring comes from Naval, which is, if you don't want to work with somebody for the rest of your life, don't work with them for a single day. A colder, harder quote has never been said about hiring and picking co-founders and people you work with. If you don't want to work with this person for 20 years, if you don't want to live with this person, if you couldn't see yourself sort of like being stuck with this person forever, don't compromise in working with them just for a short period of time, just to get some little bit of success. And then you'll change, they change, things change. No, they don't. You'll never get to that point because the beginning was already set up for failure. Mistake number 3 that a ton of founders make is not following up and following through. So there's this legendary story by now. I've told it many, many times in front of tens of thousands of people. One day, I got a warm introduction from one billionaire investor to another billionaire, one of the co-founders at PayPal, says, hey, you should meet up with Stelly. They're doing something cool and interesting. The first response from Max was like positive. Oh yeah, I'd love to meet, just propose some times. I respond with some suggestions and some times, radio silence. I send another email. I send another email. I send another email. 48 emails later, I got a positive response. Most startups, they follow up once, maybe twice, and then they just let things fall through the cracks. And they're missing 80% of the deals and opportunities they could get through the finish line if they were just more persistent. So if you learn to really level up your follow-up and follow-through game, to keep going back and keep showing up, you're gonna be able to close deals anybody else is just dreaming about. And the only difference between you and everybody else in your field is gonna be that you're just a bit more persistent than the rest of them. All right, listen, I usually don't do this. This is new for me, but I'm actually gonna pitch close for you here because the follow-up game is so important to me. I made it a core part of how close works as a CRM. We have follow-up reminders, we have automated workflow, email sequences, we have auto drafting of responses, so you don't even have to think about what the 48th follow-up should look like. All that is baked into the platform, in the philosophy, the design, and how it works. So if you want to check it out, go to the URL below for a 14-day free trial. Mistake number 4 that a lot of founders and startups make is chasing the next cool thing, having shiny object syndrome. A little bit more serious note, there is a big challenge that a lot of startups have, that as things evolve and as things pop up, they get sidetracked, right? So they look online and it seems all of a sudden everybody's making a ton of money with crypto, and they think, what if we shifted to turning our startup into a tokenized version of what we do, right? Oh, maybe it's a blockchain CRM that we are building. And then the next day, all of a sudden AI is everywhere. Oh, AI this, AI that, and like, oh no, what if we were a AI first CRM? And then it's something else. It's always something else. And then they meet people, and what realize is that every person you meet will have some crazy cool idea. And every investor you meet, even worse, every investor has made their money in a particular field in a particular way. And guess what? Based on that particular way and field, guess what they'll think you should do? They always think that you need to pivot towards the thing that made them rich before. So if they made a lot of money in mobile, they're going to be like, yeah, I like your CRM, but it needs to be mobile first. If it made a lot of money in a marketplace, they're like, how could you turn this into a marketplace? I really think marketplace dynamics would be great here. And what founders do is they get influenced really easily by people that speak intelligently and that are wealthy and experienced. And so they go and meet these people, advisors, investors, whoever, and they come back to the office and they tell everybody, stop what you're doing. We have to pivot. We're going to be a marketplace. And then, a week later, as everybody started building the marketplace thing, they come back and they're like, no, stop everybody what they're doing. We're going to be a blockchain startup. And eventually what does happen? You zigzag to nowhere. You absolutely lack any kind of consistency to build something meaningful. You're not internally driven and driven by what customers and users are telling you. You're driven by the latest tweet, the latest post on social media, the latest YouTube video you watched, the latest douchebag investor or advisor that you met at a Starbucks that told you they know exactly what you need to do after listening to you for 10 minutes. And so because you don't have an internal compass, and because you get so distracted all the time, you never get anywhere worth going to. So don't make that mistake. Mistake number 5 is running away from rejection, is avoiding failure, right? So this is a natural instinct. So it's so powerful. Hence, if you learn to push through it, if you learn to re-engineer, recode your brain on how you deal with rejection, you're gonna generate results nobody else can, right? You're gonna be an outlier at the end of the day. What does that mean? It means that as a founder and as a startup, if you're trying to avoid getting rejected, if you're trying to avoid getting, generating real failure, you're going to be going too slow, too soft, too gentle, and too safe. And ultimately, you'll never build the momentum and the learnings needed to really truly succeed. And you'll never break through anything hard because you're always sort of bouncing back whenever you face a little bit of resistance. So I've been rejected a tremendous amount of times, more than I can count on any number of countless hands. But one example that I recently talked about was the experience of getting rejected from Y Combinator over 7 times, over 7 years, as I kept applying and applying and applying to be accepted to the world's premier startup incubator. Okay, but now you're saying, Stelly, but what if all this rejection means that what we do sucks? That's a fair point, right? So it matters a lot that you pay attention to and you listen, right? Why you're getting rejected. What is not right about our offer, the product, the service? Let's talk about customers, right? Let's make this a very simple, concrete term. Let's say you try to pitch people to buy your product and they tell you no. Well, that's not the end of the road. I'm not just saying stop the conversation there and then just keep calling them every day. Eventually they'll buy. That's not true. What I'm saying is that is the beginning of learning. Learn. Why? Is it a timing issue? Is it a pricing issue? Is it a product issue? Do they just not care? How do they say no? Right? Do they say no very politely, or do they slam the door in your face because they hate what you're doing? You need to learn. And maybe at some point, as people tell you no a lot, eventually you'll ask them for help. You go, oh, before you slam the door in my face, you're the 100th person in a row that told me to F off and that they hate what I pitched them. Please just give me a little bit of feedback. If you were in my shoes, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm putting my all into this, but I don't know what I'm getting wrong, and I'm clearly getting something wrong. If you were my advisor, my investor, my business partner, if you were me, what would you do differently to succeed so when you knock on the door of somebody like you, the door would be open and you'd be invited in, right? Like ask them to tell you what you have to change, what you have to do, and then listen and see if you find a pattern. If many people say something similar, it's something that connects. Maybe your price is too expensive. Maybe it's too low. Maybe it's something completely different. But you have to learn when you get rejected. Rejection alone, obviously, is not the formula to success. So you have to learn as you hear no's, and you have to adjust, you have to improve. And ultimately, the reason why rejection is so great is that if you get a hard no 100 times in a row, it's going to be very hard for you to ignore. You'll know something isn't right, and you'll know we need to change something. Here's the alternative universe. Let's say you get 100 soft maybes, right? You get 100 people that go, oh, yeah, I do think this is kind of not bad. I could definitely see myself buying this in the future. I think this is a lot of promise and prime. I think that you guys are really doing something great. It's not for us right now because of timing issues, but keep us in the loop and definitely stay in touch. And I encourage you, I think you guys are going to be big. In essence, if you get that a lot, if you get that 100 times, a lot of founders, unfortunately, will take that as some sort of a, maybe we will succeed. Maybe things are, we're getting a lot of positive feedback, Stelly. What does that mean? What does that amount to? But I see there's a delusional founder that's not going for the close, not asking yes or no, but it's comfortably staying in the maybe zone. I just want a pleasant conversation. I just want some positive reinforcement so that I feel good, some positive feedback so I feel good. So people give you what you ask them for. They either will give you the truth or they'll give you some nice words to comfort you. And I'd much rather have the harsh truth than comfortable words that lead to nowhere.